Hello there. Today I finally got around to watching The Boogeyman and now I want to tell you about it. The Boogeyman is a horror film based on the novel by Stephen King. The screenplay was written by Scott Beck, Brian Woods, and Mark Heyman, and the film was directed by Rob Savage. The story follows a teenage girl called Sadie. Sadie and her family are grieving the sudden death of her mother when a dark spirit called the Boogeyman comes upon their home. It terrorizes them while they try to get their grieving father to pay attention and help them. It's a fairly straightforward plot with a few basic characters that spends most of its time setting up tense moments in order to scare the audience. Most of the scare factor comes from watching a character walk through darkened rooms while tense eerie music puts you on edge, and catching glimpses of the Boogeyman in the corner of the screen or moving through the shadows. Boogeyman is only ever shown in short microdoses, and by the end of the film you only have a marginal idea of what it looks like. It's some kind of spider-like monstrosity with a gaping maw for a mouth and the ability to mimic voices. We never actually see the Boogeyman tear into its victims. What we do see is the camera cutting away and then some blood spraying across the screen, or we hear their death from the perspective of another character. There is one incredibly creepy shot of it about to devour one of its victims though. It's a disgusting moment in which tendrils slither out from its mouth toward the eyes, ears, nose, and mouth of one of its victims. It stalks its victims at night and in especially dark places during the day. It also fears light, but other than that, the film doesn't tell us much about it. It doesn't explain where it came from or what it's after. This creates a sense of mystery throughout the film as you never quite know what its goals are or what it's going to do, but it also leads to a few plot holes. One of them is related to the monster's weaknesses and the other is related to the sound its victims make. The main characters have limited personalities and a little bit of emotional baggage to deal with. There's Sadie, the angsty teenager. She's being bullied at school and is having a hard time returning after her mother's death. Her little sister Sawyer likes to play video games and is deathly afraid of the dark, and their father Will is a calm and rational man trying to put on a stoic front for his kids. None of them has any interesting defining features or stands out much. They're just average people who react in terror to the situation. Cast-wise, the film has some great performances and a solid general cast. Sophie Thatcher takes the lead as Sadie and does a fantastic job of both the emotional grieving of her mother and the fear and anger she feels towards the Boogeyman. After Thatcher, Vivian Lyra Blair and Chris Messina get the most screen time and they both do a fantastic job of their roles. Blair spends most of her time giving out fear reactions and does a wonderful job of it. Messina gets to play the emotions of a grieving husband trying to hold it together and play out the protective Papa Bear role, and while his time is cut a little short, he makes a decent impression with the time given. Outside of those three, there's David Dastmalchian. He plays another victim of the Boogeyman who introduces them to the problem and provides their first horrific experience. The fear and sadness that Dastmalchian displays are next level, and his acting in the beginning is one of the most successful hooks I've seen on film. It's mind-blowing how good of an actor this guy is. Visually, the film is quite dark and takes place in about 4 locations, 2 different homes, the school, and a therapist's office. The visual journey starts at the first victim's house and introduces us to the Boogeyman. Then we head over to the second house, and from there we watch the Boogeyman terrorize the lead characters. The journey makes sense from start to finish and does a great job of setting up a dangerous atmosphere. We always watch the characters from over their shoulders, and while we do, it feels like the monsters could jump out at any time. Jump scares are always set up well with several fake-outs and long drawn-out pauses with random timing on the scare. The monster isn't all that scary itself, as you never get a good look at it, but there is one moment where we see its mouth and it opens up to reveal a bloody hand that was kind of cool. Sound-wise, this film mostly uses background instrumentals and tension tracks to build out a dark and dangerous atmosphere. There are few original songs and none that stand out as catchy or fun. It's just tense music that makes the horror sections even more intense. The tracks they used are incredibly effective at making your heart race and giving you an anxious feeling. They don't stand out, but they are effective at supporting the story. When the monster appears, we start to hear strange noises mixed in with the echoes of different characters, and it creates this weird parrot-like effect. Like, you know that isn't a person speaking, but it sounds so damn similar. There's just something a little off with it that makes the hair on your arm stand. Overall, The Boogeyman was a short and sweet horror film that tries to shake you up with jump scares. It uses tension tracks, good acting, and a mastery of suspense to keep you on edge, and it provides terrifying glimpses of a supernatural monster. The characters aren't all that interesting and the story has a few holes in it, but aside from that, it's a well done horror film. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 7 out of 10, and remember, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Bye bye!